What About Vietnam? A podcast with Gary Newsom. The series where Curry talks with travellers about their experiences and adventures. Find out more about Vietnam from the people who have actually been there.
What about Vietnam?
Whether it's adventure, exploring the culture and cuisine, shopping, or just soaking up the sun. Let Carrie and her travellers pave the way for a magical holiday in Vietnam.
What about Vietnam?
Xin chào and welcome to What About Vietnam. Today we've got a really fun show talking about food, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and all you'll ever want to know about coffee set in the city of Danang. I'm talking to Pedr Finn, who runs Vietnam Food Safaris, which is a fabulous tour that operates in the Danang city, and Pedr runs those. I met him a few years ago. This is a super fun episode. He should be a stand-up comic, truly. So buckle up for a really great episode. Please welcome Pedr to the program. Pedr, welcome to What About Vietnam? I can't believe we've been talking about this for ages and we've finally made it. We've finally got together. Lovely to have you on the program.
Thank you, Kerry. It's very nice of you to invite me and have the patience to put up with me.
Look, it's definitely worth it. I have to admit, I thought, is this actually going to happen? Because I think I've been talking to you, it's been at least over a year. Yeah, and as we just said, there's a fair bit that's gone on in that year. So lots of good reasons why. But I thought, just for my listeners, to give them some context about who you are and how I know you and all that sort of thing. Back in about 2019, I did one of your Vietnam food safari tours. And you really impressed me on that tour for two reasons. One, I was really starting to delve into Danang at the time. I'd kind of used it as a bit of a leapfrog to Hoi An and other places previously, because obviously you fly in there. And you just opened me up to a whole side of Danang that I clearly had missed. So that was the first thing I loved. And then on the food tour, and because we're going to focus our day on food as in a food tour experience, when we talk about food in Vietnam and we talk about cooking classes, and I've had another podcast I did with Tracy Lister, and she mentioned and talked a lot about cooking classes, and she said you really need to do more than one and do it in different regions because, you know, you obviously have a set menu. So in a set menu, you only get what's on the menu. We're doing a food tour, and something like what I did with you was great because I got to see and experience lots of different foods, and breakfast and lunch and dinner and in different places, and experience different flavors. So it was just it just took me to a different level of experience of food that I'd had up until that point. So that's the biggest rave I can give you as an intro, but it's very genuine.
I'll take it.
Okay, you got it. So now let's do this audio foodie tour of Danang because we're featuring Danang. That's where you're sitting at the moment. So let's start the day. First stop. What's our first stop?
Well, for me, every morning I get up at, for the Vietnamese themselves, they'd be up early, 5:30. Most people would be up. And I think 90% of people would have breakfast on the streets. And for me, I would probably head to a coffee shop first, 6 a.m. Coffee shops are open. And Vietnamese coffee lifestyle is probably unlike anything else I've ever experienced. I mean, I grew up in Fremantle. Fremantle's always had a good coffee scene. You know, St Kilda's got a great coffee scene. You know, you can go to Rome and have coffee, but the Vietnamese coffee is the scene itself is. It's amazing how people just come together for a short coffee and last the entire day there sometimes. I feel sorry for the
Really?
coffee shop owners. I think many of them would make very little money because they might order one coffee and they get free tea all morning. and a lot of guys will sit there for an hour or two and only order the one coffee.
Yeah, I know. You would not do that in many other places, let's face it.
No, they push you out.
Yes, absolutely.
But
But talk to us a little bit about Vietnamese coffee because it's quite famous, isn't it?
I mean, the Vietnamese coffee, I think, is the traditional style of coffee. Now, I don't know if anyone's had a Vietnamese coffee before. It's very strong. The Vietnamese do grow their own coffee here in Vietnam, up in the mountains. The coffee is very condensed when they make it traditionally. They will use what they call a fin, and what it is a stainless or an aluminium device that sits above your cup, and they fill it with about 2 tablespoons of coffee and probably about 40 mils of water. And
Oh,
it'll trickleate through over a course of about 5 or 6 minutes. And surprisingly enough, more often than not, it's served cold. They will serve you. If I go to a coffee shop in Vietnam and order a coffee with a local Vietnamese scene, I would be ordering a coffee that I would expect to come with either I'd ask for a coffee soda, a coffee with milk, sour being milk, or a coffee den, which is black coffee, would come to the table always with a cube of ice in a small tray with a spoon. Your coffee either still drippulating or already been poured through the fin, so you get this either a lukewarm coffee with no milk, and then you would add your ice to it, or you would get a hot coffee with milk in it, and then you would stir the milk through, which is always condensed milk, which is my favourite. It's a sweet coffee, and then you add a block of ice to it. So for many who come to Vietnam, I think that they aren't expecting, or perhaps they've had experience with Vietnamese coffee before, but a true Vietnamese coffee is very condensed, very strong. I don't think too many people would be able to drink it black. And having condensed milk in their coffee, it's particularly coming from somewhere like Australia or from Italy, you think, that's not what you pour in. You need real fresh milk.
yes.
But I think in days gone, they had no fresh milk and no refrigeration in Vietnam, and that's been something they've sort of carried on through. And I think these days you can go to coffee shops and go into a coffee scene, particularly in tourist areas, and now you can order a cappuccino or a latte or a flat white. But I just find that the Vietnamese coffee is not designed to be made into those drinks, because now that they're using the coffee machines, they grind the coffee too fine, and I find it burns the coffee very quickly. So when they make you a coffee with the machines now, and it has become popular now, even in Danang now, you'll go to a coffee shop and the machines are taking over from the scene of the old traditional fins, and it's a shame because the coffee's so much better through the fin. It's not burnt.
Yeah. And when coffee is burnt like that, it gets quite bitter, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah. And as a coffee lover, you would find that to be a terrible cup of coffee. I think that the scene here is that many of the older generations will still head to coffee shops that only do it in fins. And whereas the modern day coffee shops that you're seeing emerging, I mean, and coffee shops can be anywhere. That's what I love about coffee in Vietnam is no matter where you are, you'll find a coffee. It's not just a coffee shop. It could be on the street. It could be a plastic chair, takeaway where they're just literally you would sit, have a coffee and move on. Or you can sit in a coffee shops, which, in Vietnam, they seem to put coffee shop next to coffee shop next to coffee shop. You'll have a row of coffee shops next to each other. And
Do you have a favourite?
I do go over to the other side of the river in Danang City because I'm living on the beach side, and you cross the river, the Han River, and there's a little Indochine coffee shop right on the waterfront. There's not many on the waterfront in the on the city side, and it's a quiet little place. It's usually full of Vietnamese businessmen on the way to work in the mornings, and in the afternoon it's deathly quiet. But you have a beautiful view of all the bridges and all the waterfront of Danang, and Danang's a very pretty city, very pretty
It
city.
is.
Yeah.
It is definitely, and it's definitely come into its own of recent times, in the last few years in particular.
It has modernised, I think, faster than any other city in Southeast Asia. I can't say there is anything you can't get in Da Nang now. When I first arrived in Vietnam, there were things that you didn't even think about: fresh milk, deodorant. you couldn't even get those when I first arrived. But now you've got modern shopping centres. You have modern eateries. There's franchise foods are coming in
Theatres.
town now. Yeah, I mean they're the big scary ones. I don't like the new kafuks that are turning up on the side of some streets. But I don't know why though, because the food here is so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Australia, we're trying to get away from eating the junk food and fast food, and it's just arriving in Vietnam. And I think don't let it stay, because you've got such a wonderful cuisine, and there's so many options in Vietnam that the fast food won't last here very long, because the Vietnamese aren't into eating burgers and French fries and that sort of jargon. I think the younger ones are, but not the older ones. No, definitely not.
Absolutely. So now, if we move on from coffee, and we're probably getting to about 8 or 9 o'clock, is next stop breakfast? What's on the breakfast menu?
If you're going to go look for breakfast at 8 or 9 o'clock, don't expect very much.
Oh, really? You've got to go earlier.
Breakfast is an early thing. Yeah, many breakfast places will be closed by 8. 9 o'clock, you might stretch it for a couple of different options. And breakfast is my favourite time of the day. There's so many options you can choose from. And I think that if you're expecting a bowl of cereal and bacon and eggs, you're definitely going to be disappointed. But
no one's going to go to Vietnam for bacon and eggs.
No. Well, they do serve a dish which is one of my favourites, which is bonnet. And bonnet is the Vietnamese turn of bacon and eggs, I guess. They serve rare beef that they stir fry on a hot skillet that is cooked on and served as your serving plate. And they will cook that with fried eggs and onions and pate, sometimes with sausages, like a Vietnamese style sausage, and always with a hot banh mi or hot baguette. And lots of baguette. The bread here is to die for. And again, that's regional too. You can have different styles of bread throughout the country. And always with salads. You always get lots of salads served at breakfast time, which is one of the things I think Vietnamese eat very healthy, is that they eat a lot of leafy greens. So
they do.
So for a fried breakfast, it's very healthy, I think. It's not swimming in oil. It's not swimming in fat. You've not got a lot of protein on the plate. It's enjoyable with the hot baguettes. But that's one of my favourites, bonnet. But there are so many others. You can go for soups in the morning. You can have rice porridges in the morning. You can have another favourite of mine's bun kuon, which is like a rice pancake that's made fresh in front of you on a steamer, and they'll pour a rice liquid over a steamer that has Michelin over the top, and they'll peel off these very, very fine rice pancakes that are steamed.
Oh, delicious.
Filling those with chopped up wood ear mushrooms and pork mince, or you can just have vegetarian options with just filled with eggs. And that's served 4 or 5 of those rolled up with fried shallots and shallot oil poured over the top. And for many, that is just a great way to start the day. None of the breakfasts are heavy. They are meals, though, that will put them through the day, I think, because they eat so early and break probably about midday for lunch, that the main meal of the day would be breakfast. I mean, lunches aren't a very heavy thing unless they're out and about working.
Yes. It's an interesting point you bring up that they do put an emphasis on early in the day to eat rather than late in the day, where
Yeah.
as a Westerner, our biggest meal is in the evening, where their biggest meals tend to be breakfast and lunch.
I mean,
Is that your experience?
for many people, they will travel home for lunch, and lunch is
Yes.
very, very, very little protein. There might be a small portion of fish or meat or pork always with steamed rice and probably a soup, which is made with leafy greens. And that'll be the family meal that they would all sit down to and all come home from work and then have lunch. And then if they're in the fortunate position where they can have their siesta as well, they will have their midday sleep and then head back to work. I always see that. I always said I could sell 97 million shirts in Vietnam. Vietnam, eat anywhere, eat anytime, sleep anywhere. Because they always
Well,
they might have light meals, but they always seem to be eating.
yeah, and I can remember on that tour that you took me on, and I've also got a lot of Vietnamese friends. We just seem to go from one eating place to the other, and like I'm bursting at the seams, and I'm going, "Are you kidding? I cannot put another thing in my mouth, and it's only like 11 o'clock in the morning."
I know that when I first arrived here, I was taking my friends, and one of my favourite soups is bun can, and then this one is served throughout Vietnam, but this was in Hoi An, and the lady was only open between the hours of 2 and 4 o'clock. And she would sell 20 litres of this soup between 2 and 4 o'clock. And I would say, but most people have had lunch at 11:30. So, this is like second lunch. I'll be like, but it's a big bowl of soup, and you'd be eating it with banh mi. And I think, well, that's second lunch. Well, not even second lunch. It's like just before dinner.
Yeah, exactly. I
and,
know.
and if it's not that, they're having a banh mi in between it all. And it's like,
Absolutely.
or
Oh,
snacking on fruit. They're always eating a lot of fruit here.
absolutely. So now I want to get this clear for my listeners. So we've had our coffee. Second stop is breakfast. Now give me kind of something a bit precise as what would be good things to look on a menu for that breakfast so people
Okay.
can start to look clearly at a menu and go, "Oh, I heard Kerry and Pedr talk about this stuff. This sounds really good." So let's give them something clear to pick out.
Okay. So for my choice of breakfast options, like was the one I explained, was the bonnet, which is sizzling steak and eggs. That's pretty well more of a traditional idea for a breakfast for a foreigner, but
Easy to find? Would that be on a lot of
it would
menus?
probably be. It's always one of those little street side serving places that you'll see throughout Vietnam. There'll always be a crowd at the front. Bonnet, bo, beef, bo, and sizzling, and it will always be down at one end of the town that is only known for breakfast. So you'll see some places that only open at breakfast time, and for the rest of the day they don't reopen. But I mean, other choices for me would be something. One that you have to have whilst you're in Danang or in Hoi An or in the Quang Nam region or province is Mi Wan. Now, for many, it's a heavy noodle. It's a light noodle dish, but it is the idea of having noodles and soup for breakfast would put a lot of people off, I think. But once you've tried it, they are a turmeric infused broth poured over a rice noodle, quite a wide, thick noodle. And usually the broth is either with pork or prawn or with chicken. And there's not a lot of protein. You may only get 2 pieces of prawn and you might only get a little bit of pork or a handful of chicken, but it's the noodles and the small amount of broth that is what you enjoy at breakfast. For me, that's probably one that I would look for when I was in Danang or in Hoi An or in Quang Nam province, because you won't see it again outside that province. It's a real specialty. For me, another one would be the old banh mi. Good baguette. Can't knock the banh mi's here.
Cannot.
breakfast,
my
lunch,
go-to.
lunch, or dinner. But you will
Yep.
you'll see them at breakfast time. If you want a quick grab me breakfast. That's your McDonald's of Vietnam, I guess. It's banh mi's are everywhere, and it's
And
to
what I
die
love
for.
the
I've
best
never had
is
a
being
bad one.
able to. No, I don't think I have either, but I really love that takeaway idea of just being able to roll up at one of those side stalls and they just put it all together, put it in a plastic bag,
Yep.
and off you go. It's
Yep,
just
and I
fabulous.
love it. And usually you'll have some sort of drink dispenser next door to that that's selling. You can have your sugarcane juices or your peanut milks and then they again are only you'll see the peanut milk probably and the soy milk served only in the mornings, and they're always served in like a little plastic bag, and they'll shove the straw in there and wrap elastic band around it with a block of ice inside, and there's your takeaway drink.
Yeah.
So
Ingenuity plus.
so simple idea, and I think, well, we go, well, takeaway containers, and no, I don't need all that.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we've done breakfast. Now, you and I have suggested probably a visit to the markets. Now,
Yeah.
there is a few markets, and we talked a little bit about the ones where you need your passport, otherwise you get lost or you can't find people.
You
And
probably
then
just
there's
best to go
others.
to the nearest airport afterwards because you're not going to be meeting anyone ever again. Yeah.
Okay. Do we give that one a name so people make sure they don't go there?
Well, I highly recommend going to the Danang fish markets. Now there is the ones that are in down near the port, but there is one on the main highway that leads to the port, which is down a narrow set. It's very difficult to find. And then I wouldn't it wouldn't be on any local maps, but it's where all the restaurants go to buy their seafood in the afternoons. And it's such a narrow set of shops that stretches for maybe 2 or 3 kilometers, and everyone just squeezes in, and you just get pushed along with the crowd, and you pop out at one end. And I've never been there yet and left with the same people I arrived with.
Oh, no. I'm glad you didn't take me there.
You never stop to have a look at something. Well, you can stop, but that's it. You've lost the group behind you if you do. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so where can I tell people to go, for
Look,
God's sake?
there's 3 pretty good markets in Da Nang. I would highly recommend going to the Mian markets over in Mian on the beach side of the city. It's a local traditional market. You'll be able to experience a real Vietnamese market that is selling throughout the day, where some markets will open very early and be shut by lunchtime. These ones will continue through the day, so you can see the fish and the chickens and the beef. They're all being presented fresh on the boards, ready to be cut and served. And a great selection of market food there as well. There's a lot of the things that we'll talk about today are in those markets if you wanted to have all of it in one spot. That was where I took yourself, I think. We went there and we had one of my favourites there. We had bun can soup, which was the tapioca noodle style soup. And you can have things like bun zao, the Vietnamese fried pancakes. You can have bun
Oh, I
can.
love bang zao.
Oh, one of
Oh,
my favourites too.
oh.
And
Nowhere else can you get that. In Australia, they try to do it, but they just don't get it.
no,
Just
they don't. And bun zao again's regional as well. I mean, you can go from Hanoi in the north and go all the way to Ho Chi Minh in the south, and you'll see so many different styles of bun zao. It'll start very small and get bigger as you move south. Whereas the ones in Hanoi are almost the size of, well, they pour them into a large wok, and that's the
Yes.
size. And whereas the ones in
It's a
Da
dinner
Nang and
plate.
Hoi An, it's a dinner plate. Yeah. You cut it up into pieces and roll it as you go. Whereas things like the ones you get in Da Nang are quite small. They're about the size of a bread plate. You eat half of one at a time, and usually filled with all sorts of fillings, bean
Yes,
sprouts,
seafood.
pork, seafood. Yeah, it's definitely one of the ones you really want to not miss out on when traveling to Vietnam. No matter where you are, you can always get a nice bun zao. But one in the central parts of Vietnam that's not seen pretty much in the north and in the south is bang can. Bun kun is like a little pancake version of the banzhao. They're much crispier. They make it in little molds about the size of about 1.5 inches, 2 inches, and it's usually filled with a whole quail leg. And it is fried in oil. It is almost simmering in oil.
Yes, I've seen this on street, just on the side of the street. Little ladies
usually
crouched
only a
on
couple.
little red chairs. Yeah, and they've got the quail eggs. Yes, I've seen it.
And they'll serve that with a green papaya salad, usually a pickled green papaya and carrot, and again lots of herbs and a very sweet fish sauce poured over the top. And it's a midday snack, but also you'll see it at lunchtimes, depending on where you are. I mean, I know in Hoi An it's only in the afternoons, whereas Danang you can probably get it all through the day. But that is Mian markets. You'll see this styles of food, and it's throughout the day. You can go there from about 7 a.m. and it'll be finished up by dark. And there's an internal little eatery in there, which is I think the markets themselves, when people arrive, they think there's not much going on inside. Do venture inside. That's where it's all happening. The outskirts of the market is got all the fruit and vegetables and chickens and egg stalls and fresh fruit and vegetables, but it's the inside operation of that market I'd head to. That was a really good market for food.
So we might put a list of this in the show notes so that people can pick this out. So I'll make sure I put that in the show notes for sure, because no one's going to remember.
No. I'll put some address details with that one to find, so you can just give it to your taxi driver. It's also good for the others. It's on the tourist side of the town. See, Danang's split into two. You'll have the city on one side, the river splitting the city from the beach, and a lot of the hotels are on the beach side. And this market is on the beach side, and it's quite close to a number of the larger, more known hotels. And it's just near Mian Beach or Mike Beach, so you'll be able to find it quite easily. It's not overly popular, but locals are more used to seeing foreigners there than some other markets. But more tourists there from all the other markets. It's a local market. It's what you would see throughout Vietnam, in the sense of you can travel to places and you'll go to the larger markets in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh, and this market you could almost take it out and place it into the countryside, and it'd be no different than what you would see there. It's a very nice market to travel to, and the people there are very polite and friendly and easy to deal with. Yeah.
And I think from my experience, very friendly and open, and kind of look at you with that those eyes of novelty as I'm a blonde, so I'm walking in and I'm looking at things, and obviously my facial expressions are giving me away when I'm seeing live chickens and meat spread out on tables without refrigeration and things like that, and they have this little smile on their face to go, yep, this is us kind of thing.
Yes, absolutely.
And nothing.
And one thing they do, I find, that with the Vietnamese, particularly in the markets, no matter where you are, would you like to try something? You don't have to buy something off them. They're willing to.
Yes.
And they have a giggle to themselves, because they think he's not going to want to have to try something like snails or frog legs.
Yeah.
There's all
and
these.
They've got eels jumping around at your feet in buckets and things like that. I know.
Yeah, the smells in the market are a good.
Yeah, it's not for everyone. Let's face it.
It can be rough if you're wearing thongs. Yeah.
Oh, see, you didn't even mention that to me. You didn't even say don't wear thongs. Just as well I didn't.
I don't tell people not to wear thongs because it's always so hot here, but it's the watch out for the puddles, and the puddles may not be water. Yeah.
Okay, let's stop there, because we're going to go to our next stop, which is lunch. And I'm wondering, for lunch, I'd love you to take our taste buds to maybe a really nice place to kind of sit and view the world and eat some tasty food. Because I was amazed. Now, I was there just prior to the pandemic. So I was there in February, March. I got out on the 19th of March. And I was just amazed. Danang was abuzz with new places that had sprung up. So Talk to us about some good places to go and sit, have a nice cold drink, but eat some really tasty food for lunch.
I think there's lots of places I could recommend, but for me, one of the things of coming to Danang is enjoying the seafood.
Yes.
I think seafood at daytime is much. I mean, it's just. I think it's more appealing to eat fresh seafood overlooking an ocean that's blue and white beaches. And for me, I always suggest to people to eat seafood. I mean, you can have seafood throughout the day here, but lunchtime,
It's delicious, yeah.
looking out over the bay and eating fresh seafood in many. I mean, there's many seafood restaurants along the bay. Some which are right on the beaches, some which are across the road from the beaches. My opinion towards it is to go towards ones which are full of Vietnamese, and that's what I always say about any restaurant. Don't be frightened of being able to go in there and not being able to order from the menu. I think Vietnam's had travellers for so long now that you can break down the language barrier very quickly by just either they may have an English menu, they may not. There may be one or two staff that can speak some English.
Especially the younger ones.
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of them are really happy to try and converse with you because it helps their English skills.
Exactly.
And I think if that doesn't happen, you can just point and I'll have what they're having.
Yes, I definitely do that. Yeah, Harry met Sally thing. I actually point over there and I'll go and say, can I have that? And they can tell by my face and they smile and carry on. But I have found the younger ones, obviously the ones at school and things like that, are a little bit more multilingual.
Yeah.
And for English, they do just love the fact that I'll be trying to say some of their words and they'll be trying to say some of mine. And,
absolutely,
between both of us, we work it out. I get what I want anyway.
Yeah, and you're never disappointed what you end up with, even if it wasn't what you wanted.
No. Okay. So we reckon seafood for lunch.
Seafood for lunch, always go grilled scallops. My number one. I mean, you may not like scallops, but the scallops in Vietnam are just off the show, and they're so readily available and grilled with a little bit of chive oil with some peanuts crumbled over the top. Yeah, I mean, I'm hungry now thinking about it. I might have to go have some. Well, we can't at the moment because we're in lockdown. I can't go ahead.
No. Oh, we weren't going to talk about that, Pedr.
No.
Let's not talk about lockdowns, okay? All right, now we've done lunch. I think it's time for either we walk it off somewhere like a walk along the beach or we go for a siesta. What do you reckon?
I mean, I'd there's many places that offer the cabana style underneath the umbrella with a chair overlooking the beach where you can just wander in and out, go for a paddle on the beach and come back to a nice cold drink. But to me, that's a good way to spend the day. Always a great way of spending the day. I think also I mean, if you cannot miss out on some of the more tourist aspects of things if you are in Danang as well. I mean, if you want to have a good look around and you've got a few days here, there's plenty of tourist attractions which I'd recommend. Lady Buddha up in Sontra Peninsula. That's a majestic statue that overlooks the bay in the Linong Pagoda there. And it's a very peaceful place to spend an afternoon walking through the pagoda. Failing that, a walk along the waterfront even in Danang in the late afternoon. It's very accessible. It's very tree grown, so there's shade. There's places.
Yes, good path.
Yeah, good path.
Got a really nice path. Yeah. And I think, as you say, Danang is starting to, I think, capitalise on some of those things for tourists to explore. And a region that I've noticed come of age is Sontra.
Yep, one of my favourite places.
Yes, mine too. Talk to us a little bit about how that's going, as I haven't been back there for a year.
Well, it's 10 kilometres from the centre of the city. You will find yourself if you travel up into the mountain of Sontra. It is a circular road that follows the peninsula. You can travel through the actual forest, and you can be driven either through tours. Friends of mine have jeep tours. They take people in
That's
open
the
air.
monkey forest.
Yeah, up through the monkey forest,
Yeah,
up in Suntrap.
yeah,
And you'll see the red duck monkeys up there, which are
yes,
one of
I've
the
had
few places in the world you could see them. And they, surprisingly
I've had a
enough,
girl on my
very few
show to
times,
talk about it.
one of the
Yeah.
very few places you'll see them. And surprisingly enough, I've been very few times I've not been up there and not seen them. You've got the 1,000-year-old banyan fig tree up there, which is an amazing location. It's you think it's several trees, but it's not. It's one long tree that's growing into the ground. Its roots are growing up and in and out of the ground and up to the top again and back down again. And it's just an amazing location. I mean, Sontra itself is a peninsula. You're overlooking the ocean on a windy, twisty roads. The forest is what you would expect to find in your mind when you think of Vietnam. This beautiful jungle forest, but you're only 10 kilometers from the city, and it's very easy to get to. You used to be able to go up there in hired scooters, but they've stopped that now. So you probably just need to hire a driver or a car, or you can catch the buses up there, the local buses up there.
But it's very cheap to go there.
Oh, absolutely. And again, on the way back, there's plenty of seafood restaurants along the peninsula there I'd stop at as well. Nice
right, now,
beaches.
We're getting to beer o'clock, I think, very soon. Very soon.
You might not have had one yet, but I think I would have already had one. And I'm on the.
That's what I liked about you.
And I'm leading the tour. What happened on that tour? Remembering, Kerry? I think I lost my camera, didn't I?
You did. Do you remember? I thought that panic attack was not part of the bargain. I thought, my God, this guy's just lost a $2,000 camera. No. Oh, wasn't that awful? Oh.
I put that down to the beers we might have had earlier, but anyway.
Don't blame me. All right. Now, I need you to explain for everyone, because I do a lousy job of it. Talk about beer hoy.
Oh, beer hoys, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I know that's not particularly Danang, but just to explain.
Actually, yeah, no, the beer hoys.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, it was more of a Hanoi thing, but
yes,
you will see on the streets now the beer hoys, 6,000 dong for a beer. So if you want to look at that, that's probably around 33 cents for a large beer. And it's sort of a drinking meeting place for mainly men, but I've discovered recently that the Vietnamese women are starting to catch up with the men when it comes to drinking. Drinking's part of the culture in Vietnam. If you're a teetotaler or you're against drink, you're going to be disappointed. Well, maybe not disappointed, but you may find yourself having gained a few kilos and a few headaches along the way if you choose to go along with the beer drinking, because there's no better way to meet Vietnamese people than to sit yourself in a restaurant or in a bar or a beer hoy or a beer hall or side of the street and join in. And within minutes, you're part of the clan. You've got long lost uncles you hadn't met before.
And there's something about the beer that's made in the beer hoy, isn't it? Like it's made in the morning, I believe, and literally it has to be drunk by the end of the day.
It's freshly kegged beer. They don't put the CO2 on it. They sit there with an air pump. So some poor guy's got to sit there and squeeze the beer out with his foot, or he's got a hand mechanism to squeeze it out, and that keg's got to be drunk before the end of the day.
Yes, because there's no preservatives in it, or so-called, or...
Well, I think these days they might be a bit better than what it used to be, but there's definitely not. They're not gas. They're not the gas kegs. There's no gas lines. There's and another thing you need to go about beers and beer drinking in Vietnam is to expect it to be drunk on ice. If you're looking for a cold beer, you will find them in the restaurants and bars. But if you drink with a Vietnamese, normally the beer will come to the table in a carton and a bucket of ice served alongside.
Yeah, and
And
I love beer on ice. I think it's a fabulous combination.
you've always got a cold beer. I mean, when I was last time I was in Australia, it was some time ago now, and I ordered a beer and have some ice, please. I got some funny looks.
Yes. They would have said, "Where are you from?"
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. All right, so for an evening meal, are we saying seafood for evening as well, or
Look, we had it for lunch, so no, we could. Let's just go to a normal street side Vietnamese restaurant. You'll see them everywhere. There's no particular um, showing of what they'll have on the menu till you sit down, but majority of them will offer chicken, beef, pork, seafood again, but fish is probably a very predominant one as well in Vietnam for grilled. They'll do a lot of grilled fish meals. But for me, I like going out. If you're just going out for something really cheap and easy, is Kan Ga Nung, which is chicken wings they grill over an open air charcoal burner, and they will spear these chicken wings with large bamboo skewers, and you'll see the guys cooking them maybe 50 or 60 at a time, and they're turning them over a narrow grill, and and they've got a fan behind the back of the grill, and it's blowing the coals red hot, and these chicken wings come cut 3 pieces, one chicken wing cut into 3 pieces, usually only served with a side of cucumber and salt and pepper dipping. And you'll see the street side vendors that will serve these, and the bones go on the ground. Everything goes onto the ground as you go, and it's probably one of the best chicken you're ever going to eat. They slowly baste it with a honey and salt and pepper and water and oil mix, and they come out these glazed chicken wings, which are they're your mouth drooling.
yeah,
You won't sit down to 5 or 6. You'll probably sit down to 10 or
10 or 20.
12. Yeah, but that's one of the many options. But again, food is always available. I mean, at 3 o'clock in the morning, I can go out and have returned soup. I'm on my way home from eating dinner.
And you feel like a snack.
Yeah, you feel like another snack, and you'll be having another soup, or you usually soup. My favourite is bun bao, which is beef noodles. And for those who know Vietnamese food, they'll have known of bun bao Hue. Bun bao in Danang and probably Quang Nam is a much finer noodle. The soup's not spicy, and it can come with different fillings. And my favourite is bun bao Thai, and that's rare beef. And they'll slice this paper thin the beef and then lay that over the top of the noodles and then pour the broth over the top and slowly cooks the beef while you're eating it. That is a really great way to finish the night. It'll soak up some of the festivities. And it's not too filling. I mean, I think if we're on our way home in Australia, I'll pull over and grab a burger or a kebab. But this is a much better way of finishing a night. But eateries open, and it's not just they're open; they're flocked to. You can go to some at 2 or 3 in the morning, and there'll be a crowd at the front. It's not that it's a city that doesn't die; it's a city that it continues. I mean, about 4 o'clock in the morning, it'll be quiet.
Yeah, but it's a different kind of nightlife, I think, isn't it? It's more of a street nightlife rather than a pub nightlife.
Oh,
or
absolutely.
club.
Yeah, definitely. It's not people heading out to drinking themselves all throughout the night. They're meeting
it's a street.
They'll meet for coffee. They'll sit and talk.
Yes.
Enjoy.
They're not dancing the night away.
No, definitely not.
Everyone.
There's
a little bit of that.
Yeah, there's a little bit of it, but I think for many people, it's a way of meeting for the day, end of the day, or if they've not seen you at the morning, they'll finish off at the evening with somebody different and enjoy another. The coffee shops are still open till 2 or 3 in the morning, or they may enjoy a late meal. Some restaurants are still open till 2 or 3 in the morning. And it's very quiet, people talking, and it's a very
and very safe.
friendly. Oh, absolutely. I've lived in cities all over the world, and Danang, I'm living in an area where I probably would be the only Westerner or foreigner within miles, and I have no safety concerns whatsoever. And I would say to most people that if you're traveling here, do not be concerned about safety. They're wonderful people. You'll feel you could leave your watch on top of the bar and walk away with your phone and come back and it'd still be there.
Yeah. Or they'll chase after you to give it to you.
Yeah, most certainly.
And I've had that.
Yeah,
I didn't leave my phone, but I left my hotel card, swipe card for my hotel room, and I'd left it accidentally, obviously, underneath my phone. And this girl came running after me, and she said, Miss, and sure enough, it was my hotel card. And I thought, oh, God, had the room number on it, the name of the hotel. She could have just
any other
got there
country
before me.
you wouldn't feel
You never
safe
see it
here.
again.
Yeah, but I've never had any safety concerns in Vietnam. It's one of the most wonderful places to live. I've been living here nearly for 10 years, and I feel
It is the most livable city, Danang. It's been voted.
It has the beach, it has the river, it has if you were wanting to move here or wanting to spend some time here, it also has a very good expat scene. And even if you weren't wanting to enjoy Vietnamese food, some of the best French food I've had is in Da Nang. There's wonderful pizzerias. There's wonderful microbreweries.
4Ps, yep.
Yeah, 4Ps. The microbreweries, Seven Bridges. Their beers on par to anything I've had elsewhere in the world. And
you've got bar places like Dirty Fingers.
Oh yeah, there's so many new and opening.
Western places.
You can feel comfortable knowing that if you want to get away from it. I mean, for many people who have been traveling in Vietnam, they start either in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh and finally get to Da Nang. They've been eating rice and noodles and they're living their dream holiday, but every now and then you do feel like something different. And I can't say you're not going to be disappointed with that style of food either. And in Da Nang particularly, yeah, they got and service, the wonderful service here too. No matter which restaurants you go into, I find that
and at a good value, at good pricing.
Yeah,
that's what I love the most.
One of the cheapest places to eat. I know my parents normally stay in Hoi An, and we brought them up into Da Nang where we're living, and my mother's going, "You sure that's the bill?" I said, "Yeah." She's $10. There's 4 of us.
Yes, exactly. Pedr, I would love to keep talking to you all night about food, but I think I'm going to have to run to the kitchen.
We haven't even scratched the top of it.
I know. Now you know why I wanted you on this show, you dupe. I've been trying to get you on.
I've just been rambling on. People are pretty going, I wanted to learn a bit more about that one, and you moved on so quickly.
Well, maybe I've got to get you on again. But firstly, I'm going to put as many links as I can. I'm also going to do a transcription of this episode, which you are going to help me with later, because we're going to have to put some Vietnamese terminology next to some of those names that you've been just espousing. So we'll do that for everyone. I loved having you on, as I knew this would be hilarious, but I have to shut us down. We have to kind of, we're going to, send people crazy. They're going to go, God, we need to book a tour and we need to go to Da Nang.
And I've managed to have a conversation in English for more than 20 minutes. This is great.
Okay, Pedr. Fantastic. Thanks for being on the show, Pedr.
All right. Take care, Kerry. Very nice.
Thank you for listening. Check out the episode notes for more information.
What about Vietnam?
Don't forget to subscribe, rate and review, and stay tuned for more fun adventures in Vietnam.
What about Vietnam?